Hello, welcome and welcome back. This is Jacob and today we are going to be continuing the module short story narrations for the various operators in Arknights, and today with Kal'tsit's very first module. Right, before we go into the short story itself, I would like to put a big disclaimer here at the beginning, and that is because this short story links directly to some stuff that was revealed about Kal'tsit during the main story so far, aka during a certain bit in episode 11 of the main story. So if you are not up to date with the story and have not caught up yet, I would highly recommend skip the story section if you just want to see what the module does. I will leave a timestamp in the comment section below if you want to go and just watch the part of the video that is spoiler free, and it will only be talking about what the module upgrades on Kal'tsit and her talents. However, the story itself, like I said, is a pretty much direct link and spoiler to what was revealed in episode 11 about Kal'tsit, and I will also be talking about that during, or rather after the narration, so yeah, you have been warned. But obviously when you finish that certain portion in the main story, you are free to watch and listen to this narration. Well then, let us get into the short story. Our story for today and the module itself are called Mon2tr, spelled with a 2, not a 3. And the story goes as follows. Sand circles above. In the rays of light, no longer can she trust anything before her. Voices call to her. Souls lift her hide-wrought bag, turn her dazedness to weariness. She sees a land without limit, a land rich with life. She feels something tightly grip her hand. She looks back, and in the haze of memory fumbles for her own name. Kal'tsit. She knows she was born into these ruins of civilization bearing a calling, but there is no one to shine a light on what is to come for her. Ultimately, she cannot live free from this calling. It is akin to taking a meal or sleeping. She begins to walk upon the lost dust, carefully sorting through her myriad years of memories and knowledge. She sees a new nation rise from yet more ruins. She recalls how the results of her abandonment were deposed royalty. She sees fresh, novel flags howl atop the blood-soaked battlefield. She recalls how both sides of the war united against a common enemy in those ancient times. She sees forests yet things of barrens, gazes on mountains yet recollects lakes. She walks through the river that is time, picking up stones while the eras surge, parting around her, rushing forward on. But she is immutable. She has no past and no future either. It takes her a deal of time before she has her thoughts reorganized. She remembers the last death. The years stretching long enough to see the form of life itself change. Still, she never thought death would be so fast. Some things are changing at this very moment. Life flourishes without rhyme or reason, and the land morphs and fluctuates. Man-made machines operate with a rumble, the radiance of originium energy shining into the umbra. In the dark, the people struggle, yearning for the light, scorning shadow in an age of brilliance, on and on. Her countenance is concealed by the flurry of grit stirred by a nomadic city, and she feels anxious to the depths of her heart. Does the will that hid the stars behind the false sky still watch the surface recur in its rise and fall? How long until the Terrans, so proud of their thriving civilization, personally send those same civilizations into the ice-cold void to join countless lost lives? Time is running short. This is what Kal'tsit tells herself. She has fallen to blaming herself. She has wasted too much time, and at so many moments barely avoided the self-destruction of Terra, barely led them to a safe place to develop. It has exhausted her, drained her. She is no omniscient, omnipotent being. and yet she tasks herself with tending to the entire world. Her calling was never a fair one. She has to hurry, she has to do whatever it takes. Her gaze comes to rest on a shattered castle. It is far from the first time she touched on the legend of the Lord of Fiends. In the boundless years, more than once, she has thought of retrieving and exploiting this ancient force. She cannot help but stifle her memories of the Tikas. To make an effort not to long for the bygone days where Originium had not yet molded life into its present form, and not to commemorate a possibility that has long since vanished. Maybe this time, it's time she made up her mind. So, this was your previous journey, Kal'tsit? It stretches longer than the fragments you've seen, thousands and thousands of times longer, Theresa. But perhaps it's only now I've truly understood you, my enemy. I feel the same, King of Sarkas. And that is how the story ends. And it pretty much does what I said at the beginning. It connects to what was kinda already alluded in a lot of places, along with Kal'tsit's many small reveals about what she is, but also the fact that while yes, she is physically not immortal, like she cannot potentially die by just aging, but she can definitely get killed. And as we've seen in chapter 11, in that little, or rather episode 11, in that little small flashback of sorts, where we see a united army of Victorians, Lithanians, and Gauls moving into Kazdel. We also hear about a band of heroes from the Sarkas rows that rise up to meet that encroaching army, amongst which was Theresis himself, who faces off with the very same person that led those armies, and those armies being led by none other than Kal'tsit herself, or rather her last iteration. Because from this module we definitely get the full-on confirmation of, yes, as shown in the flashback, or alluded, or I think it was pretty much said in the flashback. I think it was Theresis who pretty much says it in a self-monologue, that he killed her. He literally killed the previous Kal'tsit, but Kal'tsit came back. She came back and she made, well, sort of friends, let's put friends into quotes here, with Theresis, his sister, later on. But we do get the whole thing here of her awakening, sorting through memories. She definitely receives all of the memories of the previous Kal'tsit in some way, and has to go through a phase of pretty much getting to grips with what these memories are and when they are taking place, to reorganize everything. Even struggles for a while here to remember her very own name and her calling and what is to do. But yeah, the text at the end also suggests that, like it was already kind of suggested before, she does tell Kal'tsit pretty much, Kal'tsit pretty much tells almost everything, or maybe even everything, to Theresa, which is why Theresa, the very same person who was king of the Sarkas, would actually consider working with Kal'tsit to prevent whatever is coming, some kind of demise for humanity on this world. Because why would she work with Kal'tsit at the end, considering Kal'tsit led an army to pretty much murder and stop the Sarkas from whatever they were doing at that time in the past. But yeah, we also got a couple of interesting things here, mentioning, especially in this paragraph right here. Does the will that hit the stars behind the false sky still watch the surface recur in its rise and fall? The will that hit the stars behind the false sky. So they kept telling in multiple places so far that the sky is fake. So is the sky just maybe a projection of sorts, hiding something else? I don't know. I don't want to speculate too much, but this pretty much kind of suggests that it is. And I don't want to speculate on it because I've only heard I've only heard, I don't know what gets revealed, but I've only heard that the incoming in the future story for Rhinelab will carry a ton, like a metric ton of lore and reveals. So I will leave that for when that story comes around, because I do not wanna either know myself. I hope no one spoils what is in that story in the comments of this video in any point in the future. So please, no spoilers about if you know what's discussed in Lone Trail, that side story. Do not say anything. I have no idea personally, and I would also like to stay blind. But yeah, I think that part will be discussed in Lone Trail at one point. But yeah, very interesting, especially the way it also follows. How long until the Terrans? And yes, Terrans here pretty much refers to the humanity on the planet, even though so far we have associated Terra with only the landmass that we know of, not the planet itself. But this this seems to be calling the whole planet or the population Terrans of the world. Interesting. Maybe it's not referring to the planet, maybe it's referring to just the population, but again, speculation, so keep that in mind. But it continues, so proud of their thriving civilization, personally sent those same civilizations into the ice-cold void to join countless lost lives. Now this, we obviously from certain other short stories already know that, well, short stories in general, know that there was definitely some kind of super advanced, or rather could speculate that there was some kind of super high-tech civilization before. Originium was not spread around like it is right now. It's pretty rampant, whatever it's doing, wherever it started spreading from. But there was definitely a very highly advanced civilization before, from the little hints and nods everywhere. And this kind of suggests that that civilization already went to space, but countless lives have been lost to the void of space. And I would also like to point out that the word time, every time it appears in the middle of a sentence, not at the beginning of one, every time it's in the middle of a sentence, it's spelled with a capital T. Very interesting. I wonder what this means. Why is time spelled with a capital T in the middle of a sentence? That is kind of like a little interesting nod to keep a look out. But yeah, interesting story. And yeah, the previous Kal'tsit, and yeah, obviously the module being called Mon2tr with a 2 in their name is pretty much another nod on the fact that the previous Mon2tr was number 2. Maybe it was even Kal'tsit number 2. I don't know if every single Kal'tsit had a Mon2tr with her, but I'm personally just going off of the basis that if Mon2tr has a number 2 here, meaning that so far we had 3 Kal'tsits during the time that Kal'tsit spent on that world. And very interesting as well, I haven't talked at the beginning because I wanted to finish the story. Usually I talk about the art for this stuff, but very interesting to look at this art for the module, because we get something that looks like a cape in the background, or what was here described as a hide-wrought bag. And it looks essentially like an embryo for Mon2tr. It's like just his spine with a couple of the ribs. It looks very mechanic, by the way. It looks super mechanic. I was always wondering what Mon2tr might be. If Mon2tr is like an Originium life form, or maybe looking at this now, maybe Mon2tr is like a combination of both super high advanced tech from the past, because you can definitely see nuts and bolts on this thing. Like, this is definitely a couple of screws here and there when you start looking at it very closely. But it seems to be organic, because this thing is gonna, if this is an embryo for, or just a corpse of the previous Mon2tr, Mon2tr has to grow somehow. So what kind of tech he is made from? I wonder if that's gonna be a point to go over at some point in a future side story. But yeah, very interesting. Overall, super interesting story as usual when it comes to Kal'tsit stuff, and probably I think Amia is also gonna have a module, unless she has one already. I haven't actually looked at it as of this recording, but yeah, very interesting. Looking forward to more. But now we shall go into what the module does. So let's do that very quick. Alright then, and now let's go over what the module upgrades. But before that, as always, let's go over the basic traits and talents, and then we're gonna see what the module upgrades. So first off, trait. Considering she is a healer, restores the HP of all allies. Neat, but the first talent will kinda dispute that statement up here, but you know, details. However, first talent, Mon2tr. Can use and heal Mon2tr. And Mon2tr has a 25-second redeployment time. Kal'tsit will prioritize healing herself and Mon2tr. If Mon2tr is not within Kal'tsit's attack range, Mon2tr's defense is reduced to 0. So yeah, keep that in mind if you are deploying Mon2tr outside of Kal'tsit's healing range. It is very squishy, and depending on the enemy, might even die to one single hit. So keep that in mind. The second talent, non-damaging restriction. When Mon2tr is defeated, excluding retreat, all enemies in the surrounding 8 tiles are stunned for 3 seconds and receive 1200 true damage. Pretty decent, but yeah, it triggers only when Mon2tr is defeated. However, our first module for Kal'tsit upgrades that very same talent. Quick little side note here, I already have the thing on stage 2, so we can see the change already here. So then, now it says, when Mon2tr is defeated, excluding retreat, or if its HP drops below 50% for the first time, all enemies in the surrounding 8 tiles are stunned for 3 seconds and receive 1200 true damage. So the stun, duration, and damage stay the same. The biggest difference here is that once its health drops below half, it will do the big boom around itself, doing damage and stunning enemies. Decent. So, what does the final upgrade do? Stage 3, outside of the base stats for attack and defense going slightly up more, now adds, or rather extends the stun by 0.5 seconds, going from 3 to 3.5 seconds, and the true damage goes from 1200 to 1500. So yeah, more damage essentially. It does more damage, the stun lasts longer. Now, is it a super necessary upgrade? Probably not. However, the 50%, if you do want to go for that one, is kind of neat. Allows for certain shenanigans with redeployment and such. So, if you want to go for that, sure. That one seems kind of fun. But that is it for this very first module. Kal'tsit will receive a second module in the future. I will not cover it obviously in this video, considering it is not available as of yet. I will say, however, to keep in mind, if you wanna maybe wait until the second one, the second module also boosts her healing, but this time around I think the healing boost is directed on ground units only. Just in general, not just below 50%, but can't remember, it's been a while since I saw what it said for that one. It obviously upgrades the Mon2tr talent and makes Mon2tr attack faster, essentially giving it more attack speed, and it boosts the defense by, I think it was 15 and 20% depending on which stage you have the thing on. But yeah, maybe the better module when you think about it, considering that Mon2tr will be tankier essentially, and hit faster, which means Mon2tr has higher DPS essentially when it hits faster. But yeah, interesting module regardless. But yeah, this is gonna be it for today's video. All I can say here is thank you for watching. If you like this video, please consider leaving a like on it. It helps me a lot and means a lot to me. And If you're new to the channel, there is a lot more, as you might see on the playlist that should be on screen at any moment, for the module short story narrations. Plus, there is a lot of narrations on the channel, so enjoy. Outside of that, I hope you have a fantastic day wherever you are, and I will see you in the next video. Until then, bye bye.